Awake my heart, answering depths. Deep calleth unto deep, Psalms 42:7. Those answering deeps of the sky above and the sea beneath remind us of other great deeps which call to each other. The deep of God's work in creation calls to the deep of the human intellect. Ever since the beginning of human history, God's voice in the universe has been calling to the soul of man, and has awakened an answering call. We open our eyes on this wonderful world, its mountains, oceans, forests, rivers, and as we look, we hear a voice calling to something deep within us. Surely all these material phenomena are not the products of a blank void. It is unthinkable that everything came from nothing and leads nowhere. These vast and verifiable realities of the physical universe must be the work of God. If we are true to the deepest and most native within us, must we not say with Jacob, "This is the house of God, amid the bright light of the morning we lift our gaze to the heavens, to the draping clouds and the vast blue, the flashing sun, or amid the awing hush of night, we look up to the friendly moon, the neighbor planets, the mistress stars, hung out like silver lamps in the dark vastness." And that same voice calls from the baffling deep out yonder to the inquisitive deep of our own minds. Lo, God is here. Even more, as man's ability to explore and apprehend increases, so does the universe increase in its magnitudinousness and wonder. We sweep the heavens with our telescopes and see constellation after constellation, profuse thoroughfares of stellar systems. Or we take the microscope and see the perfection of a snowflake, the exquisite beauty of a wayside flower, or the explosive universe concentrated inside an atom. Everywhere we see the touch of a master hand, and everywhere we hear a voice from the deep of creation to an answering deep in our own being. If we will simply listen, as deep calleth unto deep, we shall know that God is. If we are honest with ourselves, we shall admit that atheism is madness. Men's unbelief in God is a matter of their opinions, not of their intuitions. That is why atheists pray when in trouble, or in the solemn crisis of death. Intellectually warped by prejudice, the atheist says, God is nowhere. But the innate instinct of his soul splits the word nowhere into now here. The deep of God's work in creation calls to the deep within man's own intellect and evokes an answering call, despite all speculative evasions. When we are true to our own nature, we hear and sense and know that God is, that He is almighty, all-wise, all-seeing, all-knowing, omnipresent, beautiful in His thoughts, good in his purpose, and all-covering in his care. Years ago, now the Watchman Examiner reproduced the remarkable testimony of Lady Hope concerning Charles Darwin's return to the Christian faith in the later months of his life. I wish everybody knew that the father of the modern theory of organic evolution had thus returned. He wistfully reflected, "I was a young man with unformed ideas. I threw out queries, suggestions, and to my astonishment, the ideas took like wildfire." He asked Lady Hope, would she address the servants, tenants, and some neighbors at a little meeting the next day. "What shall I speak about?" he replied. "Christ Jesus and his salvation." In the end, convictions overcame opinions.